We're going to talk about the 1-2 punch. This is a system that I use in fishing tournaments. It's how I approach tournaments. It's how I practice for a tournament, especially a multi-day tournament. And even on a single-day tournament, this will keep it to where you can stay consistent across the board. And as we all know, especially in Oklahoma, things aren't always the same day to day. Things change on us, and we need a backup plan more often than not. So this is, I don't know, is anyone here new, or was everybody here this morning for the morning session? Raise your hand if you're a new one. Okay, nobody. So we've already seen all this stuff. It's about me. We can blast through that. And same thing, anytime we go fishing, I like to refer to all that same stuff that we talked about earlier, and just to remember those things. But we'll get more into the next slide and get on more into the 1-2 punch and everything. But we'll stop here. We'll talk about approaching a lake again. Sometimes a 1-2 punch can mean a lot of different things. It can mean most of the time it means fishing for bass 2 different ways during the same day. But also what it can mean is fishing for 2 different species of fish. Sometimes a lake has spotted bass. Sometimes and more often than not, it's going to have largemouth in it too. There's usually a predominant species in a lake, but sometimes you can take advantage of conditions and fish for, say, spotted bass. When the weather goes foul, they'll usually bite still, whereas a largemouth won't, especially good-sized largemouth. So that's an important aspect to a 1-2 punch, is knowing what species you're dealing with in a lake. And a lot of times up north, we have really good smallmouth fisheries up there that we go to, but they'll also have a lot of good largemouth, and the largemouth kind of get overlooked. And it seems like the days that are sunny and stuff like that, you'll want to maybe fish for the smallmouth because that's when they bite up there. And when you think you've made the most of it, you can go in a bay right at the end of the day, and just like Fred probably does this in every tournament up north, is he goes and throws a frog in the bay, and you can catch a 4 or 5 pounder doing that. So that's a really important thing, especially like on a lake like Champlain or something like that. You kind of got to identify that. What size usually wins at a lake? Is it big largemouth? Is it spotted bass? What stays consistent? And this will change, from lake to lake. Sometimes if it is a multi-day tournament, you would maybe want to lean more towards whatever species there's a large number of in that lake, even though your big bags might be largemouth. Now, if you're fishing a 1-day tournament, you're probably just going to want to go for broke and fish for the big largemouth, and that's understandable too. So it's just about knowing, what you're dealing with there, and where the fish going to be, doing and all that, and how you can maybe do 2 different things fairly easily. Obviously, you don't want to run all the way to the dam and fish for spotted bass and then run 60 miles up the river in the same day and try to fish for largemouth. You probably can't do that in the same tournament day unless you're really, really dialed in, and you probably want to pick an area of the lake you can do both. So that would condone a 1-2 punch in a tournament. So you just got to identify all those things and what you're dealing with, and the actual lake and if that's worth doing there. So it's something you can do spring, fall, winter, any time of the year, in a lot of places, across the country. And we'll get in now to more talking about the 1-2 punch specifically and why it's important. Basically, we all know that the key to bass fishing and tournament fishing and multi-day fishing is being consistent. But how do you be consistent? You got to have a lot of plan Bs, plan Zs, whatever. And so that's where the 1-2 punch comes into play. And so when I go out to practice for a tournament, I'm looking for one main deal and what the main thing is going on. But also in the back of my mind, I'm making fallback, plans too. Like, what if this doesn't go right? Or what if we get a weird weather day and things change drastically on us? I'm going to have to find some other way to catch them because this probably won't work. Say you're catching them at the north end of the lake, and you catch them the first day of the tournament pretty good, and you catch them the second day pretty good. Well, here comes a really bad south wind, you know, and it just bashes the bank and just muddies up everything. Well, you got to have a backup plan for that. So during practice, you know, approaching a lake, that's something I try to think about and try to plan for. It's just a backup plan. And also, you know, any lake, the fish change hourly. Sometimes, you know, sometimes the year it's more so than others, but I would say
Bass University TV, an online video training course where you'll learn champion bass fishing techniques from pro anglers Pete Gluzek, Mike Iaconelli, and their talented special guests. Watch hours of video content on multiple topics at your own pace for a low monthly fee. Cancel at any time. Subscribe today.